Welcome to Online Rehab. In this video, we will explore why selective use is not possible. You know, folks, we often talk about addiction in black and white terms. You're either using or you're sober. But what about those who try to walk the line, who think they can dabble in certain substances while avoiding others? Let me tell you, this selective substance use is a dangerous game, especially for those of you who've battled addiction before. It's like thinking you can tiptoe through a minefield. You might get away with it for a while, but one wrong step, and everything blows up in your face. The truth is, addiction is a beast that doesn't play by our rules. It doesn't care if you're only using a little, or if you're choosing a safer option. Today we're going to dive deep into the hidden dangers of selective substance use. We're going to talk about why this approach is so risky, and why understanding these risks is crucial for anyone in recovery. Because let me tell you something, folks, knowledge is power, and in this case, it could be the difference between staying clean and falling back into the abyss of addiction. Look, addiction is a disease, plain and simple. It's not a moral failing or a lack of willpower, and just like any other disease, it doesn't discriminate. It affects people from all walks of life, regardless of age, race, or socioeconomic status. It doesn't care if you're hooked on alcohol, opioids, or even something seemingly harmless like gambling. The substance or behavior might differ, but the impact on your life can be equally devastating. The underlying mechanism is the same. Your brain gets wired to crave that reward, that escape, that feeling of being high. It's a powerful, almost primal urge that can be incredibly hard to resist. And here's the kicker. Once your brain has been wired for addiction, it's easier to get rewired again. It's like a well-worn path in the woods. The more you walk it, the more defined it becomes. Think of it like a path in the woods. The more you walk that path, the more defined it becomes. And once that path is established, it's much easier to find yourself back on it, even if you thought you had left it behind. So, if you've walked the path of addiction before, even if it was with a different substance, it's easier to find yourself back on that same path with something new. It's a slippery slope that can lead you right back to where you started. We call this cross-addiction, and it's a very real danger for anyone with a history of addiction. It's not just about switching substances, it's about the underlying vulnerability that remains. You see, your brain doesn't differentiate between substances. It just knows it wants that dopamine rush, that feeling of euphoria. It craves that high, no matter where it comes from. It just knows it wants that dopamine rush, that feeling of euphoria. So, you might think you're being smart by switching from heroin to cocaine, but in reality, you're just trading one devil for another. So you might think you're being smart by switching from heroin to cocaine, but in reality, you're just trading one devil for another. The substance may change, but the destructive cycle remains the same. And don't even get me started on behavioral addictions. These can be just as insidious and damaging as substance addictions. These days, people are getting hooked on everything from gambling and sex to shopping and the internet. The digital age has brought new avenues for addiction that can be just as consuming. And guess what? These behavioral addictions can be just as powerful and destructive as any drug. They can take over your life, ruin relationships, and leave you feeling empty and lost. The bottom line is this. If you're struggling with addiction, you need to be honest with yourself about the risks of cross-addiction. It's not just about avoiding one substance, it's about addressing the root cause of your addictive behavior. Don't fool yourself into thinking you can control it. You can't. The only way to truly overcome addiction is to seek help and commit to a path of recovery. The only way to win this game is to not play at all. Seek support, find healthier ways to cope, and remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination. Now I want to talk about something called neuroplasticity. Don't let the fancy word scare you. It's just a scientific way of saying that your brain is constantly changing and adapting based on your experiences. Every time you engage in a behavior, whether it's playing the piano or using drugs, you're strengthening certain neural pathways in your brain. And the more you repeat that behavior, the stronger those pathways become. This is how we learn new skills and form habits. It's a fundamental aspect of how we grow and adapt as human beings. But here's the problem. Addiction hijacks this natural process of neuroplasticity. When you repeatedly use drugs or alcohol, you're essentially rewiring your brain's reward system. You're teaching it that the drug is the most important thing in the world, even more important than food, water, or even your loved ones. And here's the scary part. Even after you get sober, those changes to your brain don't just magically disappear. Those neural pathways are still there, just waiting to be reactivated. They lie dormant, but they are not gone. It's like a dormant volcano. It might look peaceful on the surface, but underneath, there's a whole lot of molten lava just waiting to erupt. So, what does this mean for you? It means that the battle against addiction is ongoing. It means that even if you've been sober for years, even if you think you've got it beat, you're still vulnerable to relapse. The journey of recovery is continuous and requires constant vigilance. All it takes is one exposure, one trigger, and those old pathways can light up like a Christmas tree. This is why support systems and coping strategies are crucial in maintaining sobriety. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the legal and health consequences of substance use. This is a topic that often gets brushed under the rug, but it's crucial to bring it to light. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, folks. This stuff can ruin your life. It's not just a matter of personal choice, it's a ripple effect that impacts everyone around you. We've all seen the headlines: DUI arrests, drug overdoses, families torn apart. These stories are all too common and serve as grim reminders of the dangers. These are not just statistics. These are real people with real lives who made one bad decision, one mistake, and paid the ultimate price. The emotional toll on families is immeasurable. And it's not just illegal drugs that can get you in trouble. Legal substances, when misused, can be just as harmful. Prescription drug abuse is a growing epidemic, and it can be just as dangerous, if not more so, than street drugs. The accessibility of these medications makes them a silent threat. People get hooked on painkillers, anxiety meds, even sleep aids. What starts as a legitimate medical need can quickly spiral out of control. And before they know it, they're doctor shopping, lying to their loved ones, and putting their health at risk. The deceit and desperation can tear families apart. Because let's be clear, substance use takes a toll on your body. It's not just about the immediate effects. The long-term damage can be devastating. We're talking about liver damage, heart problems, respiratory issues, increased risk of cancer, you name it. Substance abuse can make it worse. The body can only take so much abuse before it starts to break down. And don't even get me started on the mental health implications. The psychological impact can be just as severe, if not more so. Substance use can wreak havoc on your brain, leading to depression, anxiety, paranoia, psychosis, you name it. The mental health consequences are often overlooked but are incredibly serious. The bottom line is this: substance use is a gamble you can't afford to lose. The odds are stacked against you, and the house always wins. The stakes are too high, the risks too great. The potential for loss is enormous, affecting not just you but everyone who cares about you. You owe it to yourself, to your loved ones, to make the smart choice and stay clean. It's a decision that will benefit not just your health but your entire future. Now let's talk about the psychological impact of substance use, because this is where things get really tricky. You see, addiction is not just a physical dependence, it's a mental obsession. It's about the way drugs and alcohol make you feel, the escape they provide, the comfort they offer, the illusion of control they give you. And here's the thing about addiction: it's a master manipulator. It whispers lies in your ear, telling you that you're not good enough, that you can't handle life's problems, that you need a drink or a drug to cope. And the more you listen to those lies, the more power you give them. You start to believe that you're powerless against your addiction, that you're destined to fail. And that's when the real danger sets in. Because the moment you give up hope, the moment you stop believing in yourself, you're vulnerable to relapse. It's like you're standing on the edge of a cliff, and the wind is pushing you closer and closer to the edge. So how do you fight back? How do you break free from the grip of addiction? It starts with changing your mindset. You have to reject the lies that addiction is telling you. You have to remind yourself that you are worthy of recovery, that you are capable of change, that you are not defined by your past mistakes. Now let's talk about emotional stability, or lack thereof, when it comes to substance use. You see, drugs and alcohol might provide a temporary escape from your problems, but in the long run, they only make things worse. Think about it. How many times have you said or done something under the influence that you later regretted? How many relationships have you damaged? How many opportunities have you missed? Substance use is like riding an emotional roller coaster. One minute you're up, the next minute you're down. You're irritable, you're anxious, you're depressed. You can't think straight, you can't control your impulses, you can't hold it together. And the worst part is, the more you use, the worse it gets. Your tolerance builds up, so you need more and more to get the same effect. your brain chemistry changes, making you even more susceptible to mood swings and emotional instability. So what's the solution? It's simple. Get sober and stay sober. I know it's not easy, but it's the only way to break free from the emotional roller coaster of substance use. When you're sober, you're in control of your emotions, not the other way around. You're able to experience life's ups and downs without resorting to drugs or alcohol. Look, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that recovery is easy, because it's not. It's a daily battle, a constant struggle against the insidious grip of addiction. But let me tell you something, it's a battle worth fighting, because on the other side of addiction lies freedom. Freedom from the cravings, the lies, the shame, the guilt. Freedom to live a life that's true to yourself, a life that's full of purpose and meaning. The safest, smartest, and most effective way to navigate recovery is to abstain from all psychotropic substances. Period. No exceptions. No just one drink or just a little weed. Your recovery is a sacred journey, and you wouldn't hand the keys to your sobriety over to just anyone, would you? So, I'm gonna leave you with this. You are not alone in this fight. There are people who care about you, people who want to see you succeed. Reach out to them, lean on them, let them support you on this journey. And remember, every day is a new opportunity to make a different choice, to choose recovery, to choose life. Thank you for watching this video. If you or someone you love struggles with addiction, please visit our site www.apexartisanline.com and contact us for help. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and most importantly, share the video, share the message.